Hi everyone, this is Samir Singh Jaini here. Today we are on the Digital Fifth Fintech Show. We have here Bala here from MoneyTap. He's a founder as well as CEO of the company, and this is a specific startup which is, I think we've gone long way back. We met almost 4 years back, I guess, when I was on in DCB and you were on you were starting up that entity, and we were doing partnership long time back. And I think from then onwards, the company has grown leaps and bounds, both in terms of funding as well as business growth. So thanks. Welcome to the show, Bala. Welcome.
Thanks, Samir. My pleasure.
Okay. So Bala, before we start, I actually wanted to know a bit about the company, what all you have been doing and what kind of journey you've all gone through. So it will be good for everybody here to understand your journey.
Great. So Samir, once again, thanks for having me on the show. Let me start by telling what MoneyTap is. So MoneyTap is an app. It's available on Android and iOS across the country. And what MoneyTap does is a unique financial product for consumers.
Okay.
So any consumer can download the app, go through a digital journey in terms of credit qualification. At the end of the journey, they get to qualify for a line of credit. So what is unique about us is that we give you a limit, like a line of credit. And within that line of credit, you can borrow as little as, say, 3,000 rupees or as much as whatever your limit is. It could be, our average is about 1 lakh. And you could borrow as many times as you want in a month. You could borrow in tenures anywhere from 2 months to 3 years. And the interest rate varies as low as 13%, all the way up to, whatever your credit rating allows you to take. And the money is paid back as one EMI at the beginning of the month. And with some of our banking partners on the back, we have a set of banking partners and NBFCs who actually own the loan book. And depending on who the lending partner is, you can also get a credit card, for example, in some cases. And the credit card you can use just like any other normal credit card. And you can either take cash or credit. And unlike a normal credit card where you pay 38%, 40% interest rate, in the cash you borrow here is, it's a pretty reasonable, less than half of that interest rate. So that's what MoneyTap does. It's a line of credit. So we introduced this concept, Samir, if you remember 4 or 5 years ago when we met, of a line of credit. It's a little bit like overdraft. It's the closest thing that exists, but overdraft also is a very different product offered to very few people, mostly current account for businesses. This is a universal consumer product.
I agree. It's a complicated one from asset liability mismatch perspective as well. You have to manage on both sides.
And that's what we have done successfully. So.
Fantastic. And you're still lending or you've stopped it?
We're still lending.
Fantastic.
We make the customers go through a digital flow. We are lending, but we have taken a sort of a conservative approach in terms of credit qualification because of obviously the situation with COVID.
Okay. So in terms of customer expectation, now that COVID is there, we have been shocked by it, and now we are reacting to it, and we are understanding and analyzing what will happen now next. So what's your perspective on, since you're doing on the consumer side and some bit of business side as well, what's your perspective on both of these segments, how they will evolve? And is there a change in expectation customers will have going forward because of this sheer impact?
Yeah, so I think the next few weeks, maybe a month or two will tell. I personally am very optimistic that India will not follow the trajectory of Italy or even USA and has such a high mortality, mainly because we took action early on. So from a COVID perspective, I think we'll be okay. My guess and my hope is that we'll be okay. The economic impact, though, is going to be very real. I think we're going to see a shock in this quarter in terms of every company, every business, because of the shutdown and the potential loss of jobs. So I do see the SME lending getting severely impacted. As well as consumer lending as well. I see some sections in the consumer lending getting really impacted. For example, consumer durable loans. People are not going to retail to buy. They're not going to upgrade into a new phone, for example, which they were doing pretty every 8 months or so. People are now going to put off luxury spends, right? People won't take that foreign vacation that they were going to go to Bangkok or Singapore. So I think you'll see a lot of travel related expenses coming down, discretionary expenses coming down. I see the shrinkage in demand over there. The business that we are in, which is mostly cash loans, we are seeing a very, very strong demand. But right now, because of the RBI moratorium and everything, we are being very cautious for the next at least month or two.
No, I agree. I think this scenario is difficult. We ourselves had traveled to Singapore last year, and we had planned to go to, I think, Europe this year. And obviously, we have not gone, and maybe next year also we will not go. So these are real impacts. The other side is maybe we'll come back with the vengeance, right? We have been sitting at home for long, right? Maybe when things will come back to normal, we'll do more than we will try to basically try to compensate by more travel or more of things. Let's see how it goes from there. Now, one side is the impact on the customer, right? But look at the lending business. So I want to know what the impact on a long-term basis for the maybe short-term and long-term impact on the lending business and fintech business, both perspective. It'll be great if you can give it.
Sure. So the short-term impact of the lending business, both because of the lockdown, as well as obviously the economic distress, as well as in India, the RBI has imposed a moratorium. And that has definitely caused almost all the lenders to stop lending. So I see that until May 31st, when the moratorium exceeds, the lending volume will be practically zero, because it doesn't make sense for most lenders to lend in this situation. But beyond that, I think there are one or two scenarios. The positive scenario, I hope, is India beats COVID kind of a headline, right? That we are one of the people who managed it well, in which case I think a lot of investments will come to India. Maybe manufacturing can come to India. I see an optimistic situation here. I always try to look at the glass half full here. And in that situation, maybe we are one of the few countries which can still attract investment. And the United Nations, I think, put out a report saying India will grow 2%, and India and China are the only two countries which will still grow. That's what they've said. We'll see how it pans out. That's on the good situation. On the negative situation, especially in the lending, especially because of the moratorium, either because of an economic shock or because of the fact that RBI said you don't need to pay back for a couple of months, we're definitely worried, and we're seeing early indications on the ground that some customers might think, hey, I don't want to pay. Right? RBI has told me not to pay. Right? So there might be a behavior change we're all worried about. It's too early to tell right now. But that would be a very concerning thing if you're in any kind of lending business, when people think, okay, I don't have to pay back.
No, I agree. I think if that happens, then everybody will actually explain others why not to pay. And then you have this whole sort of difficult scenario.
And the people who suffer will be the small business and the consumers, because at the end of the day, bankers are not going to, they're just going to stop lending. That's all. So, right. So they're going to be okay. So it's the consumers who will suffer. Now, RBI, to their credit, have clearly said that is not going to be the case. It's only a moratorium. You have to pay interest still in this period, etc., etc. But some of the clarifications can get lost in the noise.
And you have also been investor earlier, right? So from your investment perspective, do you think other segments would still be attractive beyond lending?
Absolutely. Look, I do think that because of this, things are going to go more digital, right? Mm-hmm. So the pieces of banking and the financial services which were not tech-enabled. One lesson in all of this is that if you had been digital, you would have been much less impacted. Okay. So I do see an increase in interest in fintech, whether it's payments or whether it's digital insurance, or any other sort of digital financial product. Becoming more important once we get out of the crisis.
I think it's also linked to the fact that top management, which has already come out of business continuity challenges, is having more time now to focus on it. So with time, I think we are seeing more business getting created. We ourselves have closed few deals while we have gone through tough times, as I keep telling, but we also closed few deals in last 1 or 2 weeks. So I think the fact of the matter is, on one side, whatever is, and okay, maybe the bigger perspective is that people know what doesn't work without digital, right? So I think digital will become the only way of doing it, because people are trained.
That is
and
correct.
business also trained on that.
That's correct.
Fantastic. So I think coming back to the factors, Corona hit everyone. We spoke about industry, we spoke about consumers, but how about your own entity, which is MoneyTap? How are you handling it? And at individual level, at company level, and maybe the entire motivation stuff, how are you handling it?
Sure. The first thing I tell all the people in the MoneyTap family is be safe, and their families are safe, because at the end of the day, health is like the most important thing.
Correct.
Mercifully, I think Bangalore has been less impacted than some of the other cities, and we went into a work from home kind of situation much earlier, social distancing.
I agree.
And almost everybody in my company has not stepped out of the house. So far, touch wood, we've not only a company, but nobody in their extended family have had a case of Corona as well. So I think most important thing is safety and continuing that. Beyond that, I think we're doing what most of others do. We're all on Zoom, we're on Hangouts, we're on virtual meetings. I do think that people are working more than what they usually do, because the boundary between working and relaxation kind of slowly diminished now. But having said that, we're all obviously very keen to get back to the office. So some amount of actual getting out and social interaction would be nice. We don't know when that's going to be.
Okay. And what scenario would you paint? Let's say, I'm just saying positive, negative, and all sides. Maybe 2 years down the line, how would you have a long-term vision of MoneyTap? So any thoughts on it? How would look it after this shock? Maybe after 2 years?
Yeah. Look, I think digital is going to become more important. I think I cannot imagine any bank chairman or board member or CEO at this time sitting at home thinking, "Oh my God, I wish I'd done, I'd gone, I can't imagine them thinking, I wish I was less digital." So obviously, I think the notion of going digital, if it was not already important, is going to become a top priority. I think this is an obvious statement to make. Now, I think that is going to be a good thing for not only companies like MoneyTap, but in general in the industry, because this is sort of the way forward. And Samir, if you remember, in 5 years ago, they always said money is a digital product at the end of the day. It's the most digital of the products we use every day, almost every minute, and it should be digital. There's absolutely no reason why it should not be in this day and age. So I see a major push into digital banking. I would not be surprised once the dust settles, RBI even considering giving banking license, even though now that's a larger question. And with the recent challenges with some of the other banks, I don't know if they'll immediately think about it. But I can see a window of this opening up once we get back into some semblance of normal, about actually granting a digital banking license, which has been in the works for a long time.
No, I agree. You have different kind of models. You have payment banks, you have small finance and local area and all, but you don't have any pure digital bank. It's slightly different way of operating itself. Once you mix it with the normal one, I think it goes for a toss.
Exactly.
Typical physical side actually takes over the whole piece.
And also you can't separate things like payment banks, because they've proven that doesn't work. Because it's too narrow. Like you can't take one functionality and say, I'll give you a license for that. Right? The bank needs to do both assets and liability.
And the customer also gets confused. When they look at bank, they look at the full piece, not in a small silo, saying that it's more than 1 lakh, I will have to go to open another account. I think nobody likes that. Yes. And so I think we spoke about across the ecosystem. Now coming back to employees, right? With this whole shock, I'm sure a lot of guys will have to identify new roles, or they will have to sort of maybe they will not have a job itself, right, for some time. So in this current scenario, what should employees be ready for, and how should they start planning for it? Because in next 3 to 6 months they have to get back to a proper role if they don't have it now.
Yeah. So Samir, in my view, this is sort of a big challenge actually, and the reason it's a challenge is that normally when there is a tragedy or there is a event, like say a flood, or a Balakot, or some kind of terrorist attack or some tragedy, it's very visible. You see it on the TV, it's serious, it's real, and that some way there's going to be an impact on the economy and your own job and your own well-being. The challenge with this particular COVID, and the reason why the entire world took it so lightly, is that it kind of seems far away. It's like it's not applicable to me, right?
Correct.
So, for example, nobody in Bangalore I know are actually impacted, right? It's not like a flood wherein I saw one piece of the town going underwater. So it's very hard to people to internalize, right? It feels like, okay, it's like one long sort of band and hartal, which we're used to. But, it's not like people are, on the street, like affected, right? I mean, obviously the migrant workers are, but that's because of the lockdown, not because of the disease itself. So as a result, the getting my employees, and I'm sure every employer has this challenge of getting everybody on the same page. Obviously, there are a certain set of employees who see the TV, who have global connections, and they see, look, this could happen to India, so they get it. But not everybody is aligned. And my challenge in the last few weeks, and I think now everybody's on the same page, is to get everybody on the same page, saying, guys, this is a serious problem, right? This could be a catastrophe. Let's hope it is not a medical catastrophe. And this is going to be a major economic crisis, right? And almost anybody who's grown up in the 90s and beyond have never seen a slow economy, right? The economy has been booming all the time. So there is no question of a recession. People have not seen a recession, for example. Right? They don't know what a recession is like. And so this whole notion of managing employee expectations, right, in terms of, what they want from the job, etc. I think there's going to be sort of a reset button that is being hit right now. And my personal challenge as CEO, and all my friends, other co-CEOs, everybody's having the thing of getting everybody together, saying, hey guys, there is a crisis. Let's all align that there's actually a serious situation out there. It's not like life is going to be normal. And even if we get out of it, there's going to be an economic shock coming. Right? It's like a tsunami is coming. Raising the alarm, but it's not there yet. You look at the beach and it looks calm, right? But it's coming. The economic crisis I'm talking about. Hopefully it'll be a short-lived one, and we'll ride past it. But in my mind, there is no doubt that there's an economic crisis coming, and as a company, we need to conserve cash, right? We need to be more efficient, and that's what I'm preparing at least my team for. And luckily, I think most of them are understanding all of this. But some other companies which are directly impacted by this, travel industry, etc., have already made the cut, so that kind of is already out there.
I think there's no way they can sort of come back to any new normal in next few quarters, right? So I think on lending side, I do believe that after a few quarters, I think things will be okay. But travel, I think, is far, far away. And anybody out there has to sort of cut losses and at least let the company survive, and then it'll thrive again. If you start loading with all the costs, it never actually come back. And it looks harsh, but since I run my entrepreneurship journey, I mean, on my own, so I realized that it's so difficult to sort of manage everything. If your top line is down, then bottom line has to take given, right? Somewhere has to take.
That is correct.
I think thanks. I personally, I learned a lot, and great to have a chat with you after a long time.
Always.
Thanks, Bala, for joining. And I'm sure we will have another chat maybe few quarters down the line when everything is much, much better and business booming. And I'll then meet you in Bangalore.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye.